Welcome, welcome to today's episode of Inspiring Young Men to Integrity. My name is Binyam. We are embarking on a new series today, which I'm super excited about: Courage and Integrity for Young Men. Stay tuned. This is actually super exciting. I've got so many themes and ideas that I am looking forward to exploring with y'all. And Courage is the theme for a while here. We're going to take a deep dive, young man, into courage and integrity. I titled today's opening sort of conversation, Integrity and Courage, the Intersection of Honesty and Bravery. So this new series here, it's one that's really dear to me because for many years, I wished I could have experienced what I'm about to share with you guys. I didn't have access to so much of the insights I have now, and they are so transformative. They've been so life-changing for me. And I wish I had access to what I know now back then. But I didn't have any mentors along the way. I didn't have anyone that I looked up to and said, yeah, that person, they're where I want to be. I had a desperate longing for it. I had a desperate desire for it, but I did not know how to walk into it. I did not know how to experience it. I did not know how to ask for help to gain access to it. And specifically, I didn't really see anyone on the horizon that I said, I like where you're at, and I wanna follow in your footsteps. So I want to be for you guys what I wish I'd had. I want to be that voice, that conversation. I want to be that one that inspires you in this trajectory. So if you're finding that this resonates, if you're finding that this is something that you are missing in your life, I would love for you to join along. I would love for you to follow along. I would love for you to participate. I would love for you to drop me your questions and your experiences. I want to know how I can serve you well through this series on courage and integrity and the intersection therein. I don't wish for you to suffer the tremendous pain and loss that I went through because I didn't have access to what I know now. So as I share with you the things that I have on my radar here, I've got like so many ideas. This is my notebook where I write lots of my ideas. And yeah, this is going to be a really juicy topic. And like I say, we're going to do a deep dive. We're going to do a deep dive from many angles, exploring this intersection, these themes of integrity and courage, and how the two align superbly. Let me start off with a couple of definitions though. I usually like starting off with definitions so we know what we're talking about. So of course, as we've been talking about integrity for quite some time, I guess you guys are getting familiar. If you've been following along these videos, you've been getting familiar with my definition for integrity. So the way I define integrity is I define integrity as the consistent desire for one's internal values or one's internal beliefs to match their external actions as they are true to themselves and respectful of those around them. So that's kind of like my sequential way of describing and defining what integrity looks like. Let me talk a little bit about courage, this other theme that we're going to be honing in on for some time here. For some time meaning, I don't know, like maybe a couple of weeks. I've got like plenty of content here, plenty of ideas, and it's so exciting to I'm just going to hold back on the reins and just focus on where we're at right now. Focus where you're at. We were just talking in general terms. Courage. I define courage here as the ability to face one's fears and to do right, especially when it's difficult. You know, making decisions in good times is it's not hard, is it? It's something that we're familiar with and no problem. But the real question is when life gets challenging, when life gets complicated, when it doesn't seem quite clear which way we ought to be going, how do we navigate in those moments? And so in relation to courage, it's the ability to face your fears, and in facing your fears, to do what's right, especially when it's difficult. In my observation, I found so many of us struggle, myself included. We struggle when the going gets tough, and that's where we sort of default to trajectories that are really unhelpful. Now, it's important to know with courage, it's the willingness to take risks and be vulnerable and to stand up for beliefs. Like there's a component here where you feel displaced. There's a setting where you're just not comfortable. Scenarios where courage is on display doesn't really promise that it's going to be a comfortable ride. It's actually going to be quite uncomfortable as you are facing and navigating in a way that you're like, ooh, I don't know how this is going to go, but here I am embarking as best as I know how to in this setting here. So it's that willingness to take risks and to be vulnerable, which so many of us young men are finding it difficult to even express vulnerability. It feels unsafe because you feel like you're giving something away of yourself whereby someone could hurt you as a result. And may I challenge that? May I challenge that by way of saying, actually it takes courage. It takes courage to express one's vulnerabilities. That takes tremendous bravery. And so to express one's vulnerability, to be able to take risks and to stand up for your beliefs. Even like saying what you believe is an act of courage, because most of us struggle. We're debilitated from ever expressing our true values and our beliefs because we feel like we're going to be judged for them. Now, here's the really important part of this definition of courage, and I want you to hear me carefully at this moment here. Courage is not the absence of fear. Let me say that again. Courage is not the absence of fear, but it's the ability to act in spite of your fear. Remember, I was just saying that when courage is on display, it's rarely ever comfortable. It's rarely ever like, oh, this is nothing. It's actually, it requires a lot out of us. Courage puts us in that space where it's like, ah, and usually it's a response of fear that we're engaging. And courage is not the absence of fear. Fear is definitely there. Courage, however, is the ability to act in spite of your fear. For most people, they're like, this is scary, this is uncertain, this is unfamiliar, and so they sort of back away. That's not courage. Courage is saying, yep, there's a fear, but I'm still going to push through it. I'm still going to engage. And you see how this plays now, especially as one commits to walking in integrity. As you commit to walking in integrity, it's going to call a lot out of you. It's going to transform a lot of the ways that you've developed by way of patterns that are unhelpful and unhealthy in the way you engage your world. Maybe you avoid conflict. Maybe you are prone to lying. Maybe you lash out in anger, or whatever the vice is that you struggle with. As you commit to walking in integrity, courage is going to come along and undergird your ability to walk through the fearful elements that you're facing as you shift and transform into a better version of yourself. So once again, courage, not the absence of fear. Courage is the ability to act in spite of fear, to act through the fear and engage with where you're going. Let's talk a little bit about the lack of courage and how that makes one's life really challenging. In fact, I would even dare say it adds a component of one feeling unfulfilled in life when we avoid opportunities to walk with courage. In my experience, there was a tremendous sense where I felt trapped. I lived in fear constantly of what others are thinking about me. My mind made up all these stories and saying, this is how awful I must look in their eyes, and this is how uncompelling, or there's a lack of being compelling because I didn't have courage. In so many ways, I felt insecure. It was so debilitating, that sense of insecurity. Young men, are you relating with me even as I describe my experience? Is this kind of like what you may be experiencing in your context? I have a strong suspicion it might be, but I'd love for you to sort of let me know that yes, that I'm on the right track. If it is, drop me a line in the comments. If it isn't too, I'd love to hear that as well, because I would love to hear and understand like how it was different for you. But for those of us who lack courage or walking courageously, a huge part of this also means that we compromise on our values, we compromise our deeply held beliefs, which, if you're like me, had led to a double standard of life, being a two-faced, being or lacking genuineness or authenticity. You're not really being honest with those around you. And this double life really inhibits one's desire to walk with integrity. Because remember, part of my definition of integrity was one's internal values or one's internal beliefs aligning or matching their external actions. And integrity is going to call for some changes in the way you think and in the ways you feel. And as it calls for a change in those areas, it doesn't just stop there. It doesn't mean just, okay, do I think differently? Do I feel differently? It compels you to actually act now in alignment with those shifts and changes that it's bringing. As you transform internally, you start acting differently externally. And that's going to take courage. That's going to take an immense amount of courage. And when you don't have courage, when you don't embrace courageousness, there's going to be a duplicity. There's going to be a double standard that you're signing on for. There's going to be this double life dynamic that you're going to walk into where your internal values and beliefs don't align with your external actions, and you start feeling the sense of lacking genuineness, and you're just not on the same page. And it's a really, really terrible feeling. It's awful. It's not good. So we, as a result, take the easy way out when it's time to make decisions. We avoid responsibility for our actions. We, in essence, start getting used to leading a life of mediocrity. And we never actually feel like we're living our true potential, which stunts us. It diminishes our masculine drive to be what we could be. We don't take risks. We take the easy road. We play it safe. We settle for. We have low expectations of ourselves. And then we are left wondering, what could I have been had I taken that option? All this because we haven't learned, we haven't embraced that opportunity to walk with courage. Are you relating, young men, as you're hearing this? Is this kind of where you're at? Because if it is, I want to let you know it could be different. I can relate to what this experience is like because I was there for a good couple of decades. I was desperate for something different, but I did not know where to look. And here you are, young men, listening to this. Let me tell you, you have access, even in this conversation or in this upcoming series of conversations, to experience something different that could liberate and set you free if you are willing to step up. I'm gonna finish this conversation with a challenge to you, young man, but for the time being, let me just say, oh, how thrilled I am that you're here listening, that you're spending this time here, devoting time to engaging with these ideas. And I hope that they serve you well. I hope that they get under your skin and you're like, I have to do something now as a result of hearing and facing these opportunities. But you don't have to stay where you're at. That's the amazing news. You have the option of experiencing something different and what could be, and I would love to share that with you. Let's talk about what happens when you embrace integrity and what comes out of it. When you choose to walk in integrity, when you make that commitment and saying, I want to live a life that's principled, that's true to my internal values and my external actions, when you make that courageous decision, what happens is that courage begins to develop and strengthen exponentially. You start seeing an increase in the opportunities in your life to step into that zone where courage is going to take you and refine you and make you stronger and make you a better version of you. Integrity and courage are actually quite interdependent. Courage is basically the outworking of integrity. Integrity is going to call the shots saying, here's where we're going to go. Courage is what's going to enable you to get there. As you grow in integrity, you're also going to increase in your courageousness. And this happens because you are getting to know who you are and what you stand for, and you're getting comfortable expressing that. Because here's what happens. Courage causes you to do an internal deep dive and saying, what are my values and my beliefs? What are those things that I really feel strongly about? That's what integrity does. And as you get aware with what that looks like internally for you, Courage now enables you to act that out and to communicate and advocate for it, and you begin to become more true to yourself and what you stand for. That's what the intersection between integrity and courage is. The intersection between integrity and courage is that you're able to know yourself and you're able to courageously walk into what that expression looks like. When you embrace your values and your beliefs, my dear young listener, you find the inner strength to do what's right, even when, but especially when, it's difficult. When you embrace your values and beliefs, which is what the beginning stages of integrity look like, you're doing that internal assessment, you are finding the inner strength to start acting on and doing what you feel is right, especially when the going gets tough and when life gets difficult and complex and complicated. It becomes far more clear saying, yeah, here's how I know which way I'm going to go, because here's what my values are, and here's how that paves a path for me forward in making the decisions in front of me. You'll stand for your beliefs, and in doing so, you begin to inspire others to do likewise. As you grow in integrity, you make more courageous decisions, and you take many more risks, and you face far more fears head on. Let me repeat that again for you. As you grow in integrity, you make more courageous decisions. You take more risks in life because you know who you are and what your values are. And you face more fears and walk through them because courage is undergirding you through them. Your confidence continues to grow because you are in alignment between your values and the impact that you're making because of the actions that are following through from your values that you subscribe to. There's a massive net gain when you, young man, continue to make the consistent commitment to walking in integrity and seeing how courage grows exponentially as a result, because you're working off of alignment with your internal values. It's amazing. It's brilliant. It's like massively transformative. This is just the beginning, may I remind you. This is just the beginning of quite a series that I have prepared in exploring and doing a deep dive on what courage looks like in the midst of walking in integrity. So stay tuned. Subscribe if you've not already done so, because goodness, this is like, I'm intentional when I'm here. I'm spending time here because this is, for me, time well spent. I'm not for everyone, and I get that. There are some who are like, this is not for me. But if you're one of the true ones that are here, if you're one of the ones that are on purpose here, if you're a young man who is saying, I'm intentional about making my life count, of creating a legacy, and if you haven't subscribed, I'm saying, why? Subscribe, because this is a community where I'm cultivating others who are like-minded to say, let's impact and change the world in an amazing way, in a way that is transformative, that the world is like, whoa, where did this movement come from? Today we have a movement of many expressions in the masculine realm, where there are those who want to lead and guide and saying, here's what it means to be a man. And I have a distinctly different view of what it could look like. So it's up to you to choose. Which one do you find more compelling? For my part, I want to influence you. I want to inspire you to live with integrity that's marked by confidence and courageousness and humility and longevity in making an impact for positive change. That's what I'm here about. And for me, that's not time wasted. And so the fact that you're still here in the midst of this video here is really compelling for me to say we're rowing together. This is for you also intentional, and you mean business when you're here, and I commend you for being here, because this is not the theme that everyone is interested in. I'm shocked when I meet young men who are interested in this thing, but I'm also encouraged as well. I'm inspired by you. When you subscribe to this way of seeing the world, you really resonate at a deep core with me, and I'm like, yeah, we're good people. We're following through in a way that is intentional, and I am thrilled. So if you haven't already done so, subscribe, follow along, participate, engage, because we're going places. Let's talk a bit about motivations that bring one to even consider walking with integrity and courage. What are some of those motivations? They are varied. Here are a few that I gleaned. For some, it's a desire to be men of character, to be respected, and to live with purpose. That's the motivating factor for some of you men. For others, it's a little bit different. For others, it's because you desire to make a positive impact and leave a legacy behind, and that's amazing too. I love these few motivations that I've just described, but I don't relate with them. And if you're one of those that relates with what I've described so far, would you please drop me a comment down below, because I would love to see you. I'd like to acknowledge, I'd love to celebrate that, because I don't know what that's like. I don't know what that's like, but I find that inspiring. I find that compelling. I find that, like, I would like to understand more about you if that's what was your motivating desire, saying, I wanted to take it to the next level. That's brilliant. My experience is a little bit different though. For me, I'm here in this space because I was driven by desperation. I was driven by desperation after experiencing tremendous loss in my life and pain. In the absence of courage in my life. That's what brought me here. And it was a painful pathway. It was painful. Like I said, there was much loss. There was a lot of broken hearts, devastation. I'm not beating myself up when I say this. I'm getting emotional just because it's still, I feel through it. I feel through and I experience this sadness of loss. It still means a lot to me, and I don't want to forget, and I don't want to lose that feeling. So I don't apologize for getting emotional, because this is real for me. This is real for me because, and this is why it really counts for me. I'm doing this because I'd rather, for those of you who can relate with me, that you don't have to go through what I went through. I'd rather you save years, decades of your life if you can learn and implement the things that I'm sharing with you. For me, it was painful. I'd rather it not be for you. And so I'm here because I was driven by desperation after much loss and much pain, living life without having courage. Whatever the motives are that bring us here to this place where we're communally in the same space, where we're interested, where we're waiting at the edge of our seats saying, what does it look like for one to walk with integrity and courage? I want to know. I want to step into this. I want to experience this. Whatever the motivations, remember the following thing, and that is this. That courage and integrity are long-term investments. This is not just a momentary, oh, this is interesting for the time being. No, no, no. I'm calling you for a life transformation. I value long-term investments. And this is a long-term investment. This is one that isn't going to be happening overnight. This is one that you're going to have to grow through. And the growing part is going to have a lot of groaning in it. It's like, oh, this is painful. This is terribly, terribly like difficult. But we're still in the game. We're still going through it. So remember, my dear young men, this is going to be a long-term investment, and it's going to require discipline. It's going to require a lot of hard work. It's going to require dedication. But when you commit to this, not only are you going to transform in unbelievable ways, in amazing ways that liberate you in life, that reconnect you with who you're supposed to be. As you commit though this way, you're also going to inspire so many others, including me. I'm inspired by this kind of a life. I'm inspired when I see others on this pathway. I'm on this pathway. In no way am I like a master at this. I'm a fellow traveler with you, okay? And then let me just set this out straight. I may be older than you, but I'm a fellow traveler with you who's trying to figure this out. And I'm just sharing from my experience, from my strength, and the hope that I've come to have. And even as I share with you, and as I model what it could look like, I'm not going to be perfect. I am definitely going to mess up along the way. So please don't have this high expectation that I've already arrived. I have not. I'm going to fumble. I may even discourage you by some of my choices that I make. That's my humanity on display. But I am in this game on purpose for a reason. And I'm calling you to join me as well too in this embarking of our journey together. And even as we do so, even as we embark together, let me remind you again, it's going to take hard work. It's going to take dedication. It's going to take a lot out of you. But it's also going to put so much back in you in an unbelievable way that inspires so many around you, including me. I'm inspired by this kind of a life, like I said. I want to celebrate when I see this happening with you. I want to make a big deal of your transformation because that means a lot for me too. I may be inspiring you, I may be the catalyst that brings you into this vein, but as you walk into it, young man, this is what's going to inspire me. But not only inspire me, it'll inspire the world. That's the kind of legacy that I want us to join in together and partner together with, so that we see this movement that the world did not see coming, that we see this transformation of the world that the world was not expecting, because the world did not expect that of you, young man. I have high expectations of you, young man, and I'm calling you to it. I'm not even holding back here. I'm saying, no, this is what it looks like. If there was a shorter, easier way, I would describe it. There isn't. And yet, in my experience, this pathway that is hard is the only way. This is the way that I find compelling, that enables us to say, wow, this is what it looks like to walk along this way here. Today, this world is in desperate need of young men who are committed to walking with integrity and with courage. Let me say that again, because I think that's important for you to hear, young man, and it's a call to you. This world, young man, is in desperate need of men who are committed to walking with integrity and courage. Not only is this world desperate for young men who are willing to stand up for what's right, especially when it's difficult, but this world is desperate also for young men who are willing to lead with humility, respectfulness, and who are intentional about inspiring others to do likewise. This is something that the world isn't looking for because it doesn't expect it. Young men, because the world doesn't expect it, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it. Do the unexpected. Do the hard thing. And be that surprising element of change. The world desperately needs this, but they don't know they need it because they have stopped expecting it. They've come to expect something far less of you, young man. And I'm saying, the buck stops here. If you're listening, if you're challenged by this, be that young man who is going to push against the current of mediocrity, that pushes against the low expectations that the world has of you. Step up. I'm not asking you to be brilliant in your field that you're pursuing excellence in. I'm asking you to be brilliant in being the amazing young man that you are called to be at a personal level. You could be an amazing leader in industry or innovator of whatever, and still be a man who's lacking in courage and integrity. My intentional investment right now is in saying, would you be that young man who is going to step up and say, regardless of what I pursue externally, I'm going to work on me internally first and be that man who is one defined by integrity and courage. I want to see an amazing movement of young men who are committed to this. We are desperately in this world in need of such young men. So young men, it's time for us to step up. It's just time for us to take responsibility for this vacuum that is currently in place. It's time for us to be those men, not for others, but for yourself first. To be that kind of man who walks with integrity, who walks with courage, who walks with humility and respects those around them. Be this change that you wish to see. And I'm describing what you could be. And if you're finding that resonating, I would love for you, again, drop me a line in the comments, say, that's me. I want to be that. And if that is so and you haven't subscribed already, please do so, because I want you to follow along in the series and transform along the way. I want you to take hold of the insights and the epiphanies that I'm about to share with you and imbibe them for yourself. Young man, and just in closing here, I want to challenge you. I want to challenge you specifically to embrace integrity and courage, to live the life that you were meant to live, true to yourself, respectful of others, because your actions today are going to impact what this world looks like tomorrow. Your very actions today have impact already. And when you make this decision, when you take the time, I encourage you, take that time, walk into the bathroom all by yourself, close the door, just be you. Look at yourself in the mirror and say, is this what I feel a resonance with? Do I feel something internally that is stirring and saying, I want to step up and be this man of integrity that has courage? Do I want to challenge the norms? Do I want to embrace what this looks like if I were to walk with integrity and courage, even though it's going to be tremendously challenging? Am I going to step into that zone where I'm going to take ownership of what I could be? And could I impact tremendous, massive change, beginning first and foremost with me? I hope that is you, young man. That's why I'm spilling these words. That's why I'm spending my breath. That's why I'm giving my mental engagement to this. I want to inspire you on purpose. I want to see you transform in magnificent ways. This is me fulfilling my purpose. This is me courageously stepping out and saying, young man, would you join me this way? I hope you'll say yes. Until our next video, I hope you will consider the things we've been talking about here. They're not just empty words. They're powerful words that are designed to impact change and transformation. And I hope to see you walking alongside me in these next few videos as we explore what could be. I'll see you then. Bye for now.